Hey everyone, welcome back to another Roblox development tutorial. Today we're going to be making a NPC voice line interaction system. This is another beginner Roblox tutorial, so if you're not very experienced or anything like that, that doesn't matter at all. If there's anything in this video that you're struggling with or anything you find difficult, just put a comment down below and I'll do my best to respond to them all. So first things first, open up a new Roblox project or your project that you want to add this to. Once you're in your project, just double check that you can see the Explorer and Inspector as well as the output console. If you can't, just go to the view window at the top and make sure all these are selected. First thing to do here is to spawn and name your rig. Make sure all the parts are anchored. And then scroll down in the parts to find the humanoid root part and add a proximity prompt to this humanoid root part. Set the action text of the proximity prompt to who you're going to be interacting with. And then also just set the duration to 2 seconds. Uncheck requires line of sight because if there's any parts in the way, this might block the player from being able to interact with the NPC. Now just hop into the game to test it and make sure you can see this pop up. Once that's sorted, then we're moving on to creating the GUI. So the first thing to do here is to create a screen GUI. We're going to name this voice line GUI. Then create a frame within this GUI and name it container. Set the size to around 500 by 100. Obviously you can change all of this GUI yourself, but for the tutorial I'm going to keep it simple. Set the position and anchor point to 0.5, 1. And then just set the end little box there for the position to -10, so that just brings it up a little bit. Then create a text label and set its name to name. This is going to hold the name of the person you're talking to. Set its text size to 20 and its background transparency to 1. Set its size to 1, 0.3. Now create another text label and name this one speech. Set this one's text size to 20, the background transparency to 1. Set the anchor point to 0.50 and the position to 0.5, 0.35. And then set its size to 0.9, 0.6. Make sure for this one that text wrapped is set to on. This means that if the text is too long for the box, it just wraps down to the next line. Set both text to loading, and then you can customize this GUI as you please. I'm just going to do some simple ones for now. Once you're happy with the GUI, here, like I say, I've just done a temporary one, so it's not too amazing, but it'll do for now. Then you're just going to turn the GUI to off by setting the enable to false. Then we're going to go to replicate storage and create a module script. We're going to name this NPC data and make sure you name the actual module within the script NPC data also. This module is going to store all the information about each NPC. So we're going to set Bob up here with a set of voice lines. It's important here that you use commas between the lines, otherwise the script will break. Once that's done in there, you can just leave that one alone. We don't need to do any more scripting inside of there. You can add as many NPCs as you like to this, as well as many lines, but we're going to keep it simple for this one. We're then going to create a server script within the proximity prompt we created earlier. Make sure to name this prompt, and also I like to put at the top of the script the name as well, but you don't have to do this. We're then going to define some simple variables. And then make a folder within replicated storage called remotes, and add our remote event to it. Make sure it's named the same as mine. We're then going to reference that in the script and then just connect it to the proximity prompt. So if you've never used remote events before, or you're unaware of what they are, so a remote event is basically just some kind of information that's sent between client and server. So in this case, we're sending the information from a server script to a local script, so we're sending from server to client. We then create a local script within the starter player script. We're going to call this voice line handler. Again, just defining some pretty simple and common variables here. So we're using the services. So we've got these services here, we've got some constants. We also connect the remote event here as well, and the module that we made earlier. We've also got a couple of config variables to set up here, but this will become more apparent as we get through the script. So the first thing to do here is we're just going to create a function which we use to update the GUI. This basically uses an index, or like a number that we cycle through to find out which line to be on. If the index is greater than, here we can see we use the hashtag for the number of lines within the NPC, and this means that we can have scope for lots of different numbers of lines. So some NPCs might only have a couple of lines, while some might have many. So this just continues to look through that every time we update the voice line. Using the greater than sign just means that if we've exceeded the number of lines, then we just end the voice line. The next thing to do here is to just connect it to the remote event. So the remote event is fired when we start the voice line, so that enables the GUI and also begins the update. So if we go into the game to test this, we can see that if we interact with the NPC, the first voice line comes up. But we currently don't have a way to skip through the lines. That's where we make use of this user input service. So we just detect whether the player presses the enter key or the return key as it's known in here. And then when they do that, we just update the GUI. And then if we test again now, we can see that the voice lines are working as intended and you can skip through them all. thank you for watching this. I hope you enjoyed. I may eventually in the future release an advanced guide to this, and we can make the system a little bit more complex and we can do a little bit more with it. But for now, we're just going to keep it nice and simple. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.